Previously on Fantastic Comics Presents.
Leave it outside on the porch and spray it with Purell. And then
all
10
right,
days later.
So Jill got a package today, and I'm sure she'll say in chat, she wiped it all down.
Yeah.
Me, I court disaster by saying, I'm just not going to catch this thing. I'm a healthy, strong as bull.
The paper today, tales of war in every way, switch and turn right over to the TV page.
Hey now.
Don't dream it's over.
Look, this is just an informal chat. We were wondering what you were working on in your lab.
Well, I've invented a pill that gives worms to ex-girlfriends.
Right, and what's positive about that?
Well, it's a pill that gives worms to ex-girlfriends.
Well, could it also give worms to ex-boyfriends?
This is a drug for the world to give worms to ex-girlfriends.
Well, great. Thanks for stopping by.
You just don't get it here.
Society has always scorned the truly unique, but that's a burden you choose to bear when you can bend the very walls of reality with the power of your imagination. That's a gift to be respected and feared.
It's like we're waging an epic battle against conformity.
That which does not kill you makes you stronger. Pretty much best describes high school for us, because we almost died.
In fact, at that moment, Buster was climbing into the trunk.
Mother, when you see this videotape, you'll know that I left. Not out of cowardice, but out of... Oh man, it's tired in here.
This guy, Todd Gack. I want to bet from him.
Yeah, what bet?
He bet me that Dustin Hoffman was in Star Wars.
Dustin Hoffman in Star Wars?
Yeah.
Short Jewish guy against Darth Vader? I don't think so.
Yeah, that's what I said.
So the bet was the loser has to buy dinner?
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, it's not really up for you to decide. I mean, that's current slang.
Well, I think it is because I'm a troll. It's an offensive term.
Well, that's what it means, so...
That's not what it means.
It does mean that. If you need me to look it up in Webster's and show you, I will. You're basically just a big...
Don't say it. My being a troll is not related to my online trolling.
I'm sorry that people use the term trolling.
Don't use the
but
word.
When you're a troll
if you
and
say
you
it,
troll,
I'll hit
then
you.
you're trolling.
What the hell is this?
This is the bill that will convert the State Hospital for the Insane into the William J. LePetamine Memorial Gambling Casino for the Insane.
Gentlemen, this bill will be a giant step forward in the treatment of the insane gambler.
Yes, bravo. Beautiful.
That's the T-C.
Dan, Klaus! I really identified with the girls in Ghost World. They made me feel like I wasn't so alone.
Yeah, whatever. Do you know anyone who works at Batman? 'Cause I really want to draw Batman. I'm awesome at utility belts. Check these out. This is where the Batman keeps his money, in case he has to take the bus.
Here's John Wayne at a party where he was honored after receiving his Best Actor Oscar for Rooster Cogburn. Oh, look, at the same party, it's America's eternal teenager, Dick Clark. Hey, Dick. So that's your secret.
I'm going to do a scene from the movie Raging Bull. You fucked my wife? What? You fucked my wife? How can you ask me a question like that? How can you ask me? I'm your brother and you ask me that? Where do you get the balls big enough to ask me that?
Vampires have huge respect for owls. 1, they're nocturnal. 2, they're predators. And 3, they don't give a hoot where they dump their scat.
What?
Registered commies, not guns.
Oh, he was probably a member of the National Rifle Association. There was a group that helped criminals get guns so they could shoot citizens. It was a public service.
This is where he every day I'm wearing a necklace like this, and he's in this urn.
Is his ashes?
Yeah, his ashes right here and here. Yep. So both of my grandpas are here.
What's that other thing on the necklace?
It's a Punisher emblem.
What's that about?
I like the Punisher just because he's he takes his the law into his own hands to punish the people that wronged him.
Let's get back to
Right, so these punks,
Yes.
I don't know if they wanted money or they wanted something more sexual. But it's a lucky thing I had my pieces.
Your pieces?
My guns.
Oh.
Anyway, I started blasting. Bang! Bang! Well, I don't see so good, so I missed. Then they ran away. I ran after them.
Okay.
Bang! Try to shoot them in the back. But I don't run so good either. Anyway, you guys all think I'm a hero, and I'll accept that responsibility.
For shame, Doc. Hunting rabbits with an elephant gun.
Elephant gun?
That's right, Doc. So why don't you go shoot yourself an elephant? You do, and I'll give you such a pinch!
We're going to start our volleys. We hope you like the show. Now everything is ready. We're raring to go. We'll give you all the latest songs and then it's full of pep. We're gonna start with hot shots. Just watch this chorus steps.
Originally settled as Ocean View during the 1850s, the city's population boomed with displaced
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fantastic Comics Presents. I hope you're all doing well today, tonight, or whenever you're actually listening or watching this show. For those of you that are new here, this is a comic book show from a store owner's point of view. I am the sole proprietor and employee of Fantastic Comics, although I do have help from people from time to time, as you may have seen in the last few days. This is a show that talks about comics from the comic store's perspective, the customer's perspective, and an owner and fan's perspective. That's me. Who am I?
My name is Yule Carter, comic book retailer in Berkeley, California.
That's right. The store is in Berkeley, California. We're open Wednesday through Sunday, 12 to 5 p.m. Wednesdays, we've been open till 6 lately. I can't guarantee what's going to be going on in the next few days, but as it stands right now, I feel pretty good. We'll be getting to that in just a few moments. Come on in and shop for some comics, or, take this as like, a show that's going to let you know about things that are going on in the comic book industry, not necessarily from a yay or nay point of view, but sometimes I'll put a little Yule stank on it. And, you're going to get an honest perspective and just an idea of what you could possibly get when you come into our store, and maybe more. Hopefully not COVID. I've got one more test, and please take the poll. I will definitely pay attention to it, or at least have Jill pay attention to it. What do you think I should do? Because I've been sick since Friday. I guess if it takes a while to incubate, Thursday. And I've been bedridden. I've been masked up in my own home. Because I don't want to get Jill infected, which it seems like I've done a good job doing that. We have, I should say. We even double masked ourselves, just in case. And I know it doesn't work, but you got to do it. I even put my elbow in front of my face. Like, what's that going to do more, right? All fist bumps this weekend. It was really strange. It's different if they're out of town, your significant other, your partner, your whatevers. But when you're like close, but not, and you have doors and walls in between you, and you're like texting because you don't want to get out of bed. It's my first vacation in quite a while, I'll have you know. Oh, and since before when we did the COVID the last time, that was my last vacation. So getting sick was good for that, at least. And like I said, I'll continue more about that in a little bit. I think the most of the show is just going to be talking about COVID. So if YouTube gets me in trouble for that, F them. I got a different channel. Follow Yule Carter. Shit. So first thing we do is we like to talk about wrestling. Let me just take this banner down so it doesn't block the view of the wonderful show that this was taken at. There was a ton of wrestling this weekend. I would be taking way more than a minute if I was going to go over it, but suffice it to say, there was an AEW pay-per-view. There was a WWE pay-per-view in Saudi Arabia, Jeddah. And there was an NXT takeover. And there were title changes on some of the shows, like Bianca Belair, not a champ anymore. Asuka took it from her. Seth Rollins is the new whatever champ they're calling themselves. And then there was all the AEW stuff. Jade Cargill lost her belt. So black ladies. But that's okay because the black men over in NXT were doing okay for themselves, in Carmelo and Wes Lee. I don't really know much about it because although I wanted to watch and or, pirate some of this stuff, I was sick and I didn't care to. So I just kind of, and it got spoiled for me because like I was on Twitter like crazy. There was that one moment that was wrestling related that happened, and this is a different, you get the audience, or not the audience, but you get the commentary. I showed it in one of the clips earlier, but we're going to watch it again.
Ziggler makes it back to his feet. Is he going to deliver sweet? Oh, Claymore kick from out of nowhere!
That's right. And with that, that's your wrestling minute. That was a pretty good wrestling minute, I think. Just the proper amount. If anybody saw any of those shows and you want to say something about them, Sami Zayn beat Roman Reigns and Solo with Kevin Owens, they're tag champs. And then one of the Usos, I think Jimmy, kicked Roman in the head, causing friction between him and Jay. And the story continues. It's an amazing story if you're watching this stuff. I'm just kind of observing it from afar, but the characters and the motivations and it's actually something that's going on and continuing very well. And again, that's the wrestling minute. Let me know what you thought though, if you saw any of it. I guess that's a good time for me to say,
We didn't come to borrow any money. We didn't come to borrow any dough. We didn't come to borrow any trouble. We just stopped in to say hello. Oh, hello to you, Mr. Benny. Please don't think that we are hammy. We just stopped in from Alabama. We just stopped in to say hello. Oh boy, you said it. We just stopped in to say hello. And don't forget it. We just stopped in to say hello. And I'm hello. Hello. Goodbye.
And since I'm here to say hello, how do I look? Horrible, I know. But that's not anything to do with being sick. I have a few updates health-wise that aren't necessarily about, my lungs and stuff like that. But first, I would like to let everybody know that you can follow us at Fantastic Comics on all the different sites that you see scrolling down below, especially Substack. We sent out a letter, let people know about what's going on with me health-wise. And so many people have said encouraging words, and that really makes me feel good. I know not everybody is around, local anymore, but, that still is awesome. It really makes me feel good. And I know there's going to be at least a few people other than Jill and family that will say something about me when I die. So yeah, as long as Eugene posts it, that's the important part. Hell. So one of the other things is we have a Patreon, and if you're like, man, I like giving people money that suffered from COVID, you don't want to be like George Costanza, you want to be seen.
My last name is Costanza. That's Italian. So you and I are kind of like countrymen, huh? Paisanos. 650 your change. Ah, yes. And I always take care of my paisanos. So here's a little something.
Antonio!
Sì!
Vieni qua! Questa miserabile patron...
Okay, that's that. We're gonna have a fundraiser someday. What if I actually one time, and maybe earlier in a different day, had an auction? Because I have stuff lying around sometimes that I just don't have time to always, sometimes I want to come home. I don't always want to be at the store. And I've seen, I'm going to mention some names on YouTube. Englentine, my buddy that comes into the store, or Talking Soul, we'll see him in a sec, talks about Instagram. I don't want to do Instagram. I don't want to do any of that other stuff. If it doesn't go from here to there, I don't care. So, but YouTube is a little smaller. You get a little bit more specific people that are only looking for that stuff, and you don't have to always contend with all those other people that drive prices up. You don't get sniped as often. What if I was like, okay, so you're like, what kind of stuff would you put out there, Yule? And I'm thinking like, I have a lot of things, but maybe like I would take this. It was a recent miniseries. This will be a poll someday too that I'll ignore. There was a recent miniseries, Genisville, Captain Marvel by Peter David, who I guess technically was involved in the creation of that character, even though it's based off of all sorts of other stuff. So like maybe a grouping of that, but then maybe something like Mobius and Stan Lee's, if I could do this right. Wrong camera. There we go. Mobius is Silver Surfer. Woo! Would that be something you'd want to like bid on? And I'm talking like, maybe something like this would go normally in the store, depending on the condition. I would at least have priced these at $10 each, which isn't that much, but it's higher than guide. But other people would probably, in this condition, if it was slabbed, it would be at least $30. So would you be interested in that? Do you know other people that would? Let them know and let me know. All right, first up, Fantinium was here to say, yo, how sick is too sick? Well, if you're puking your insides out and having to change your underwear every 5 minutes, I'd qualify that as still able to do this show. And of course you could. For sure. I was sweating like crazy. I did the sheets because I felt confident I wasn't going to go crazy this night. But last night, because I've been in extra clothing at night. But man, COVID, I really didn't think I was going to do it. I thought I escaped it. I know it's like a recurring thing. And that maybe as I get older, I'd want to get those boosters a little bit more often, or as they're available. But even flu shots, I've never gotten a flu shot. And it's not that I don't think flu shots work or anything like that. I just don't want to spend that 48 hours or whatever I hear of getting sick. I don't like that at all. And funny thing is all this time I've not got the flu. COVID. But man, this was like I haven't been sick like this in a while. But I don't think, I think I understand long COVID as far as it persisting. I've had that before. A lot of people go through life of being a little sicker than they should be. I like the idea of masks. I've always liked the idea of masks. I am a customer service individual for most of my life. That's my educational success, I didn't make it as a writer, so I'm a slave to the register. And I encounter all sorts of people sniffling, and it's sinuses, or it's sniffling, I'm getting over the flu, or it's sniffling, it's the very beginning or right in the middle, and they don't goddamn care. And sneezing, people sneezing, and there's a lot of stuff. People are also so crazy, 7 years ago about man spreading. And it's Jesus Christ, I got people coughing in my face at the register. I've been breathing in hand sanitizer for a long time. Damn, COVID sucks. Joby Pill in the other room. Hello. Elithidor, if you're worried it's COVID, I'd take a test before opening. Well, I think I'm getting, it's been. We had 2 boxes. I've used 3 of them, just hoping. But I was at work the other day, closed, and one of my most, I feel, safe customers, she never approaches me without a mask, was willing to buy her comics on a day we were closed and just not touch her comics for a couple days. If you're willing to do that and I test positive, you might come in. Or should I just not open Wednesday? One of the craziest things I've ever heard, to not open on a Wednesday. Because the guy that's been helping me out, Eugene, God bless him, ain't going to be around tomorrow, and there's nobody else that can do it, and nobody else that I want to do it. So I could lay them at the door, and we have a counter in between us. You know, you only have to go there and not be around me, but you are still in a room. You know, you can stand outside, and it's like 3 feet away. You know how the layout is, everybody. But you know, what do you think about that? Definitely not hanging out tomorrow late. Talking Soul, I got a nice stack of tests for my 3 emails to get 12. I heard that there's like just a couple more days, at least out here, to get them. So, and here's Fantinuum on point to say the tests aren't that reliable. Just put a sign up that reads COVID on premise, enter at own risk. Yeah, I think that's really what it comes down to, because you don't have to come in the store, you know, and some people don't. I mean, I don't know how it works as far as like your being sick. Like towards the tail end, are you still a carrier? What about the people that never get sick? How are they carriers, and how are they ever going to know to even test themselves? You know, there's a lot of stuff like that. Obviously, you do it when you get on a plane and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, if you're traveling, I think it's a good thing to maybe, you know, test now that I think about it. Kenneth Bird's here to say hello. Hello, Kenneth Bird. Fantinium again. Yule, you need to welcome people in the next week with come in and masturbate with me while you peruse our selection of comics. Amen. Wrestling, how's your father? Elithidor says, WWE was the Ritz and AEW was the shits. I don't remember what you were saying when I said, or what I was saying when you say that. Dude, is that what COVID does? I don't know I mean, yes, that's what it does. I felt like I had strep is really what it was. I mean, this is like, I haven't been sick since I had strep throat, you know, and since my throat was sore, it basically was like that. And, you know, if you're tired and a little bit of coughing, and maybe that's what this is in reference to. Like it's very loose though. I feel it. Earlier today, there was like a little bit of mucus, but again, it was clear. And that was like the only time. It's like every day there's a different thing. There was a fever on the first day, and there was, sweats on the second day. And then there was, you know, my nose running and my throat hurting, and now the throat doesn't hurt as much. At one time I was like, fuck, I know I have COVID still. And you're separating yourself from everybody, and it's 4 days and you're doing everything. And everybody that knows me knows that I've been cutting my calories. Oh, this has been great for that. Let me tell you, everybody that's fat should get COVID. Oh no, I'm sorry. We know what happens if that occurs. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right, let me see. Auction off a date with Yule. We have KFC while we discuss comic. With you while we discuss. Oh man, I love KFC. I can't not like KFC. I worked there for like a month, and I didn't see anything so poor or so bad. So I'm down. Original recipe all the way. Hi, chat. Jasper Plan 9, excellent. Good to see you. Thank you very much. Break out more boxes of old trades. Going to. You know what? I promise when I do something like that, I got a trade right here that's pretty freaking sweet. I just got so many of them. I don't know where I put it right now, but it's really, really good because it has a poster in it, and it's a Legion of Superheroes. So I could do that also. Mark McGrath peeping in here late here. We'll watch in the morning. Well, you know what? For anybody that watches in the morning, I want to say to you.
Hello. 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 Hello.
Mark, I'm signaling you out. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the show after the fact. Ken Trones. I like the idea of an auction for a collection story arc of a run for sure. I would want to do at least a really good trade, at least a really good a collection, and maybe like a classic comic or two, and maybe something a little bit more current. Maybe something that's sold out in other parts of the country. You know what? Let me put down below some of my favorite channels. And one of my most recent ones is Eric O'Sullivan. There he is. Talks about comics every day. He has a show on for 30 minutes about every day. And sometimes he rambles about stuff you don't care about. And then sometimes, you know, I mean, but he's always bagging comics and talking about comics. And it's like, it's a very fun little conversation. And if you're there live, you chat with people, like Mark is usually in the chat. And I would definitely want to put out books like that also, because I hear from him like stuff that sells out in his store. And he lives in one of the bigger, you know, I'm sure comic store cities. So yeah, you might want to check that show out. Going back to comments, Joe with numbers says you need a plexiglass enclosure to sell from. That would be really good to have. I'm going to be double masked up for people that care about that type of thing. I don't have the plexiglass thing available. I have cardboard. If that counts, I could do that. I will construct a cardboard barrier and I will hang it from the ceiling. Get a beekeeper suit, Elithador says. That would be a very, very good way to go. Ken says sidewalk sale. All right, so we didn't have really much of a sidewalk sale last week. My brother brought in a bunch of comics from his collection that was within the last 10 years, probably the first 5 years of our being open. And I'm going to probably be putting those out for real cheap. And you might want to check that out in the next week or two if I'm up to it. But I'll let you come in and peruse the boxes anyway, Ken, and we can cut a deal. Talking Soul, we all got trained. It's like an STD. You have to inform your circle you're infected, and everyone has to test. So, Talking Soul, have you tested? How do you feel? I haven't heard anything from you guys that you are like the first thing. Okay, the first thing I thought, and I'm assuming everybody does, is like, how did I get sick? All this time, that was a while ago. That was like over, how many years has that been since we were shut down? 2-3 years now. That was like the first that was the day before we had to close or something like that. I can't even remember. I was listening to the program. It was a pretty good program, but the video was really choppy. I don't know how this is, but I think this is better than then. And ATN had that sock mask on. It was great. It was a fun show. But you know, I was just like, yeah, I'm just drinking. You know, get that throat burn going, smoking. Like this, yeah, I feel I'm going to pass the test tomorrow. I promise you guys, I'm going to pass the test. Nonetheless, I'm coming in. I know some of y'all don't care, but I'll make a big sign. I've been to online live sales for other things where it's first come, first serve on items. May help clear out your backlog of trades. Yeah, I'm also thinking that it just might be like a fun little show to do also. I've enjoyed watching people do those streams, but I don't want to watch like you put up a bunch of 6 shitty comics or anything like that. And I want to like, I would not be putting up anything I didn't like strongly believe in. Like if I wouldn't do this, but like if I wanted to start choosing from the stuff on this, you know, this, like you would, nobody's going to sneeze at these freaking Gil Kane Superman annuals. These I think Keith Giffen Challengers of the Unknown. Spawn, Grant Morrison, Greg Capullo, first Greg Capullo Spawn. You know, these Wolverine one-shots. You know, I got more than that. I mean, those are the ones that make the spinner rack. Then there's like all those books there. I mean, if you like comic books, you know what I mean? That's the thing. You gotta, I want the first appearance of Silver Surfer. Well, you know, all right, those are really juicy comics to have, and everybody likes to spend money on that. But do you care about anything else? And since we're talking about caring about anything else, let's talk about Diamond Comics. Oh, that's right. If you didn't hear, let me just get to the pictures. Sorry. If you didn't hear, then you should have heard you should have heard by now that Diamond Comics issued a release that Image Comics announced that effective September 23, Diamond will serve as a wholesaler for Image Comics and Graphic. I love that spin. That's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful spin. No. Image Comics is leaving Diamond for Lunar, who also distributes DC Comics and other, entities. Diamond is going to wholesale them like they do Marvel, who left for Penguin Random House, like a year ago, 2 years ago. I've been waiting for the other shoe to drop, and I gleefully let y'all know that it's dropped. I mean, it's come down. The only people left that are specific to Diamond, and not necessarily even the graphic novel stuff, is Boom and oh yeah, Frank Miller Presents, and that's it. So I mean, I've got when I was nobody and I was working in a comic store in Southern California, we were a Capital store. And when Marvel went and bought Heroes Worlds and only had them distribute through them, through Heroes, Diamond went about and made exclusive contracts like crazy with all the important comic companies, Image included. And Capital, who was, a little bit more West Coast and a little bit more friendly, and also our distributor at the store I worked at, they basically had to fold. There was nothing you can do with titty slasher books, you know what I mean? So Image has had a connection with Diamond for basically their entirety, especially since they were so their Image is always, at the beginning they were very AEW, let's say that. Oh my gosh, these superstars are going over to this company that's going to rival the people that I love. And you're like, but I've been dissatisfied with them for so long, even though I love the stuff these people who are leaving were doing. Sounds like that? I mean, that sounds like wrestling right there. Sounds like real recent wrestling to me. Brian Hibbs, this is how I found out. He posted on Facebook. Well, I actually found out, and he was the first person that the person who told me, or we talked about it. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't really matter. He came out and said, I am extremely disappointed that Image is forcing us to buy our comics from DCBS. All right, so for those of you that don't know, and I agree with part of that. Okay, so Lunar, our distributor, is owned by DCBS. When I was an employee for Comic Relief in the early aughts, and later, DCBS formed, and they were discount comic book selling, as I think they're called, sales. And they sell comics cheaper, online. This is not a comic book store that has to pay the same type of city taxes and all that other bullshit. They just have to mail stuff out, and it's a different type of business, of course, but they're not a comic book store. And since they're reaching out to all the land, they're able to offer, discounts that your local comic store just can't really compete with. And I don't think it's ever really been that great. I mean, they're very successful, but they haven't shut anything down. It wasn't like that bad. So I think when Brian Hibbs, a guy who's been in business as long, if not longer, than the people of DCBS, see shit like this, it's very upsetting, especially since Image was very much in line with Diamond, who I assume Brian Hibbs has been very much in line with also. But I never really had a conversation with him about it. He was not cool when DC moved to Lunar, and he at least is keeping his same stance. Image is forcing us to buy our comics from DCBS, the single largest competitor of all retailers everywhere. I think I've addressed that. I don't think they really are, or else they would have shut everything down. Amazon basically shut down all bookstores that aren't Barnes & Noble. Barnes & Noble was able to clue in, and they're still around, sort of. But it ain't like it used to be. Especially now that I'm getting my fucking Starbucks delivered by fucking Uber. But that's another story. I am extremely disappointed that Image is changing their on-sale date to Tuesday. Again, who gives a fuck? We've got decades of effort to brand Wednesdays. Brand Wednesdays? Hey, I'm closed on Tuesdays. You can go to another comic store and get your DC books before you come to my store. That hurts me. It's my own problem. Now it's going to be Image. So make sure you order ahead, because I'm not going to order that many if you screw me that way. I am extremely disappointed that Image will only have a digital catalog. Change with the times. I think that's pretty much old man yelling at clouds situation there. I don't like doing it either. I hate it. And you know what? I almost never do it. And I do all the ordering. So it ain't that big a deal. And one of the reasons I don't like getting spoiled on shit. So fuck. The overwhelming majority of subscribers have been clear they don't want it. I don't agree. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares about the books anymore, and everybody was making fun of it because you know what? Everybody looks online if they care to look at anything ahead of time. The very few, I don't even sell the previews anymore. There's one person that comes in and specifically buys it. The other ones I gift out from time to time. That's it. And I don't get that many because almost nobody fucking cares anymore, especially for the Diamond version of it. And most people already know because they're on League of Comic Geeks or they're following the Comics Hub thing, which I'm not a part of, but they still look at that. They're Bleeding Cool, all that stuff. There were a few people on Facebook that responded, and I wanted to show these comments to you. Don't get like too crazy about who is saying anything, but they're retailers. This gentleman says not loving some of the details of the Image Lunar deal. Image will FOC all products on Sundays. Totally understandable. I hate doing things a day early. Image products will be available to be on sale on Tuesdays. Again, I don't really care. I'm not open. That's the price you pay. A little extra work ain't that big a deal. It's just, eh. And not only that, Lunar ships so much early. compared to what Diamond used to, it's not even that big a deal. And this is real store talk, just to let you know. If you don't like it, let me know. I'll never do this again. As of right now, Image will be part of the next phase catalog, digital only. I've already addressed that. So there you go. And then this guy comes in and says every Image creator needs to start marketing their books as if it's a boom or Kickstarter, a boom Kickstarter. I totally agree, and it's been that way. But you know, if you're going to really use social media and try and drive people, it's time to do it. You know, and maybe possibly drive them to that Image preview book also. That would be a nice thing to do. This person says about Diamond. With all the Image news, on another note, did anyone order this Funko display from Diamond? That looks like total cardboard. Cost was like $40 to $60. I was just informed that Diamond charged me $151.77 to ship this item. Did anyone else notice this insane shipping cost on this? Well, I gotta say no, because I would never buy that. Anytime I got something like that, it was always free for buying product. So maybe that's what actually happened. I don't know. You can't always look, us store owners, we don't know what's going on half the time. And when you're reading a Diamond invoice, it's bullshit. We've been finding that out for years. This person, all right, so here's a little conversation. This was actually from Bleeding Cool, and I pulled it down. The thing that got me, all right, so John Jackson Miller does a thing called Comic-Con, and what Comic-Con does is it goes back and it looks at all the sales from when there was records of the sales. And it charts how things are doing now compared to then, and it takes inflation into account and all that shit. There's like, numbers don't always tell the truth, but there has been a major increase in sales of comics or graphic novels and stuff within the last years. It's not as dead a business as a lot of people think, but you have to be in on what's going on, or basically you have to be Target and Barnes and Noble is what I'm saying. Our kind of comic store, the one that we're watching this show about, the one you see the rack behind me about, all the shit behind me, that's not what they're talking about as much anymore. Nothing wrong with any of that stuff. John Jackson Miller says, contrary to at least one report I've seen, Jeppy is saying Diamond has an Image wholesale deal coming for what it's worth. And for what it's worth is nothing, because then Brian Hibbs says, and this is 100% true, it will be just like the Marvel one, a 10% or so lower discount and overpriced shipping, making it impossible to make an actual profit. And anybody that buys something through Diamond that doesn't have a Penguin Random House account, is a fool. You're throwing money away. For what reason? And not only that, for all this time that Brian Hibbs has been caping for Diamond, that's like, I feel like that is, he was so very upset that his very first Facebook post about it said that this is a big straw for me. I genuinely wonder if I want to continue to own a comic book store after this news. I've been devastated, and there's plenty of times when I didn't want to work for comic books because of the industry. I'm just sick of this shit that I'm putting out. Owning a store, I'm trapped in this goddamn thing. Not wanting to do it. I'm sick. Brian Hibbs recently had a heart problem, and I think he has more than one. So, it's not that big a deal. But I can understand. Like, this is shock. I've everything I've known is being like How many I mean, this is like goes back to 2020. It goes back to the beginning of COVID. A lot of people have been fucked up from it, not just by the sickness or because of the sickness or because of the response. And there's been like crazy freaking responses. And we've seen people that have made rules that didn't adhere to them. We've seen people that didn't give a shit about them, that didn't suffer. And it really freaking sucks because you can throw some money at some problems, but we're never going back. We're never going back. Drink them. That's not sick cough. It's because I smoked some weed earlier. I'm just not up to it. What do y'all think about any of that? I know I'm cursing way too much. I'm so sorry. I've been. Oh wait, we've done that one. LOL. R.I.P. Diamond. Amen. I was in the Capitol. I went to their back rooms. I shopped them. I ordered my first time I got to order from a comic for my comic store down there. It was Capitol. I mean. And then we had to switch over, and it was just such a freaking hassle, man. It just maybe that was me bitching like Brian Hibbs is about Image now, or DC earlier. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say they're happy with Diamond. Let me tell you a Diamond story. We got free comic book day bags that you have to buy and pay for shipping. Understandable. Very good bags. I still have so many of them that I'll be handing them out for a few years, whether there's a free comic book day or not. And we got a box in the store. Check this out, okay? A box. It was a big box, and it had like some other shit in it, whatnot. And at the bottom of the box, there were like there was a box that was not sealed with free comic book day bags in it and broken glass. How's that? There was another time we got an order and a slip put in the box saying that the order that we asked for was too high to reach, and that was the reason why we didn't get it in our box. Just crazy stuff like that. Oh, I don't know what I did there. Oh, I think it's leaving money on the table for Image to not at least have a once a week show talking about upcoming comics. For sure. And in fact, I think the fans of that, like if you had once a month, Kieran Gillen come out, or Chip Zdarsky, or Donny Cates, I think he would be a good one. I don't know. Oh, you know what? And I think she needs a boost anyway. That Emma Kubert, related to the Kuberts, Kubert legacy artist, writer, Emma Kubert does stuff for Image. People should know more about her, because like people love legacy characters. Oh, Dan Didio, to watch out. He might want to try and kill you. Oh, let's do a comic book about Dan Didio trying to kill Emma Kubert because he hates legacy characters. You can steal that. Cherry Pop-Tart Omnibus coming. Don't tell me that. Is that true? Is that really? We'll have to find out. Elithidor. Yeah, Kickstarter went live like 2 days ago. Oh, no shit. Oh, that's great. I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this for y'all. There you go. Just for a few seconds. Wow, Battle Buddy knows Fear. Wait, Fear the Beard. Oh wait, I was thinking of something else. Go to a doc and get a Paxlovid's prescription. I felt 100% better within 24 hours. Did you test positive? Or that's the only thing I care about, because I personally feel like I'm 95, really. And LK also says, I'm still pissed that Diamond screwed me out of the Alex Ross FF. Improve or fade away. Yeah, I would assume that was strictly allocation situation. I personally didn't order any and didn't realize what I passed up on. But if you're a store and you know there's going to be allocations, if you want 2, you got to order 4. If you want 5, you got to order 10. The only problem is if you're a store that doesn't want 10 and you actually get close to that amount, you know. Oh, you know what? That's a really good time for me to say thank you to everybody that again followed our plea out on Substack about Poison Ivy. I had a bunch of people come in and not only buy it, I have some reserved, and any that I can't move, I have a comic store that's willing to pick up the rest for, you know, a comic book price. But for anybody that buys it from us, you get a $10 credit after the fact. And yeah, Cherry Pop-Tart, big fan. There was a time, so that comic store I worked at in Southern California, I wasn't really into Cherry Pop-Tart, but the boss there was. And now I'm into it. It's like there's nothing there. Like when I worked at Comic Relief after that, we had a porn section, an adult section, if you want to call it that. That's where we put the explicit Hernandez brothers and the Bondage Fairies and Eros Comics, which funded Dan Clow's comics, and, you know, all sorts of stuff. But there's nothing like that. I mean, there's manga. There's still manga or hentai or whatever you want to call it being produced. But anything from like other countries getting reproduced in American or, you know, out here, it's just not happening anymore. There's no company that's really doing it. And, you know, we hear a lot of people bitch and complain and moan about comics and, oh, this character's been race swapped, or this person's been, they're not married to this person, or, you know, this character's been cut, or whatever the shit, you know. Oh, Captain America won. All that stuff's understandable. But what really has been missing from comics probably in the last 20 years easy is, for the most part, true independent comic books where anything can be said. What I mean is Ivan Brunetti, look up his older comics if you don't know, does comics for kids now. Johnny Ryan doesn't always do Johnny Ryan. He's the closest thing, and he doesn't even do anything anymore. You know what I mean? Where's Evan Dorkin? Where's who is the person that is Evan Dorkin is what I'm saying. Everybody that's independent is doing something that's trying to become a Netflix thing anyway. There's a YouTuber named Larry King. I forget if it's just Larry King, but he had a thing where he talked about artists or comic creators just doing it to create comics, you know. There was, and I feel like there's always a time as an artist where you're willing to do something. I'm going to do a shit ton of it until people find out that I'm doing it, and then I'll worry about the money. But the minute you make the money, you can never do it for free. You know, maybe like actors have to try out, but you know, when an actor is an actor and they're somebody that you hear the stories, oh, this person had such humility that they were willing to try out for this role. But it's usually someone that's trying to break out of their comfort zone also. But, you know, so there's still something to be had from that. You're still making something from it in order to do that. But you are still putting yourself out there more than someone that always demands money for it. And I don't know where I was going with it. Oh, that's what we're not getting in like comics, man. That's the true spirit of comics that isn't like it used to be, I feel. And maybe that's just growing old. Now, the important thing about Image moving to DC is that Image is run by Eric Stevenson, the publisher of Image Comics. And when DC Comics moved to Lunar and the other company I was not a part of, which is just Lunar now, called DC Comics move a sociopathic decision. Now, I'm not going to get into what sociopathic means, but I recall that when they talk about all those hedge fund fuckers that screw everybody's grandparents out of everything, that's sociopathic, I hear. And now Eric Stevenson, I think, according to this article that was written about it by CBR, and we'll be getting to them in just a second, should now have the label sociopathic placed on him and Image Comics, don't you? Let me know in the chat or in comments after the fact. And if you, hey, Eric Stevenson's a cool dude. I don't have any problem with him. I'm just giving him shit. Also, you know, it's like, man, you can make a real rash decision and say something. And let me tell you, that's me. But then it gets published and, you know, it lasts forever. And now I'm going back a few years and I'm bringing it up. But don't worry, like I said, CBR has problems of their own because they're only a press release website that masquerades as comic book news. I mean, I can go to ICV2 for this shit. They got magic cards in it too. Sorry, Graham McMillan. Oh no, that's this is I don't even know what site this is. Oh damn, plagiarism. Sorry. CBR is this was, I can't remember who it was. I'm so sorry. Popverse. Popverse learned that 2 more senior executives at the site had been laid off. And then there was like already people that got laid off, and you know, that sucks. But seriously, I mean, this was when we saw, and I wish I had that freaking post. Oh, I still do. Chris, I haven't gotten rid of this. If you wait for perfect, you'll be waiting a long time. Yeah, you'll be waiting a long time because what did he was talking about journalism in comics and how you should support them. I'm not supporting CBR, and I'm definitely not supporting Bleeding Cool or any of that other stuff. I mean, it's just muckraking bullshit for most of the part. Or again, like I'm saying, they're the spoiler places. They're the ones that say Marvel's like, hey, I wanted to let you know that someone's dying. And then they spoil it for you. And it's like, dude, I had just a few weeks before I was going to sell that freaking book. Why don't you just keep your mouth shut? We already knew that something was going to happen. And it's very upsetting. Very upsetting. God, that's what makes me hate the fucking industry. That's what makes me want to freaking not ever own a store. I can't freaking stand it. But you know what? I love comics. I got a comic book right here I'm going to read later. It's called The Orb. You can't get that all the time just anywhere. You got to be at a comic store that knows that they got The Orb. You're just going to buy online everything in life? Is that what it's going to be? Is that what we're going to do? I mean, you're going to crowdfund all your favorite comic books, you know? And on that note, why don't we talk about some comics that are coming out tomorrow? Excuse me. Let me just vaccinate a little bit more. Smooth. All right. I'll do also comments. I went to the doc thinking I had a bad cold, tested positive at the doc, and they gave me the prescription, but I'm in ARC, so it may have been easier here. Elithidor. Yeah, I waited 2 to 3 weeks for my LCS to LSD to get full circle until I got tired of waiting and got it from Amazon. That's definitely a thing. that's on your store. And if you can't get it I mean, there was a time when it was out of print. So, you might have, maybe that was the situation. But, you got to take matters in your hands in a situation like that. I can't wait forever. It's a comic book. I need to have it. Blah, blah, blah. Elithidor, and this is good stuff to know, though. Okay, says, I've seen that hardcover at various bookstores, but I specifically wanted the limited edition slipcase. Ordered when it was solicited through DCBS, and then 2 months later got an email. Dun, dun. Battle Buddy. Love the adult section in the back left of Comic Relief. Hell yeah. All right. Let's see. I remember the small alcove behind the curtain at World's Finest in Sac back decades ago. When I went to Golden Apple, which was on Melrose, they had I don't think it was beaded. It might have been like wooden saloon doors, if I remember correctly. And that's where, believe it or not, they had adult comics, but they also had like the Drawn and Quarterly, like Peep Show books, because, Joe Matt was masturbating like crazy. Chester Brown drew Matt. If you like comics about dudes masturbating, Drawn and Quarterly was the best, and that's what I'm saying, man. You just don't have really that much stuff anymore. Let me put this down. I feel so short when I'm not on my leg. CBR has had senior executives. Well, and did I show any of the channels that I follow? Let's do it again. Perch had a video where he was talking about senior executives and titles and stuff like that. And then a lot of the people in the comments were chatting about, I've had a lot of time recently to read comments and be on Twitter. People really like titles. I mean, some people do. I just like, being employed. You can ask Fantinuum about titles, that motherfucker. Where else can you find a top 10 fictional fast food restaurants in comics? Exactly. I mean, it's just a BuzzFeed for comic books, and it's not. I mean, like I said, there's ICV too. If I need to know something from the sales point of comic books, that's the only place you really need to go to. And if you need any dirt, there's Bleeding Cool and like a Bleeding Fool and stuff like that. And they'll have their own little slants. I only talk about Kickstarter. I only talk about Indiegogo unless we're slamming somebody from Kickstarter or slamming somebody from Indiegogo, stuff like that. Meanwhile, I just want my Zoop book. I'm having a great time seeing the lunatics flip out over Kamala. Wish I had that old price Costco size bag of popcorn to enjoy. I could eat some popcorn right now. That feels like it wouldn't. That and cotton candy, but that's just too much sugar. Golden has class cases now. What? We're going to be talking about new comics now. First up, since we just talked about it, the death of a character. Who is doing their own thing? Who in this whole story doesn't belong? I know the banners in front of Tombstone's face, but seriously, we all know who doesn't belong. In the 25 issues that I've read of this comic book, there's only been one person in here for like the least amount of time, and that's the person who's gonna fall. So if you don't know and aren't surprised, you should pick this one up, because I hope I didn't spoil it for you. I don't think I did. Unless you're really clued in on everything that's been going on. But I know that Dark Web was quite a suck. World Tree #2 comes out. That's a James Tynion book. He writes everything these days, including Sandman, Universe. I can't remember the glass something. I just read that. It was really good, though. Yeah, World Tree comes out. It's about like this killer that's like internet based or web based, I should say. I don't know. Detective Comics 1072 comes out. Ram V continues, and oh yeah, even Ivan Reis. Next up, we have Doctor Strange #3 by Jed McKay and Pascal Ferry. I read this one already, and God, I really, really like this. It's all about Dormammu is Clea's uncle, I think, is what it is. Because she's Umar's kid, which is the sister of Dormammu. There you go. Dormammu comes, and he has a parlay with Doctor Strange once a year. So it's one of those types of stories. And as at the very beginning, Doctor Strange scans Dormammu for the host that has to be inhabited for him to be out here talking and hanging out with Doctor Strange for like, a whole day. Such a good issue. It has a backup story by the person, Amy something Wong. I can't remember her. Amy Wong, I think, is from Futurama. Alyssa Wong. And I was like, I don't care. But I actually started with that. It was a nice little 5-pager. It had Nico Marumo. I can't remember how you say her last name. The one from Runaways that uses the staff of one. It's a story about her, and there's some Doctor Strange and Dormammu in there. And it was really, it didn't suck. And for the ease of reading the first story along with that, I thought it really matched up really well. So this Doctor Strange is a really good issue. DC Pride 2023 comes out. There's a story by Grant Morrison, and you know how I feel about they. Love Grant Morrison. That's what I meant. Just was trying to make fun of English. Clobbering Time #3 by Steve Scroce. Writing and drawing. This one has Doctor Strange. This is a Doctor Strange week, everybody. Come on in and see if I have any back issues. I'll make a deal. And it will be downstairs where I'm not, so you don't have to worry about being infected down there. Clobbering Time #3 was really, really good. I love this series, and though people were making fun of issue 2 unknowingly because they didn't read it and they didn't care to acknowledge greatness. And they even went so far as to say how shitty the artwork was. And I'm talking about Steve Scroce. How can you say that? I mean, I say it often, and I know Jill doesn't give a shit when I say this. You can hate Kevin Sorbo for his politics, but when you go so far as to say Xena was better than Hercules, you're a liar. You're just lying. You might like Xena more than Hercules because, it's Xena. But you can't fundamentally tell me it's a better program. They're both shit. But there's a higher echelon of shit when you're talking. And then when you say, because you hate something and you've been so infested with what you're seeing, and you think it's so bad because it's just that one little thing, and you say Steve Scroce is bad, don't talk to me about comics. Next up. You're getting the Yule today. Power Girl Special #1. Leah Williams, everybody's favorite. Never mind. Marguerite Sauvage hopefully can save this. And if not that, the multitude of covers that go along with it should. But if you're a Power Girl fan and you want to see what's going on with her, you should definitely check this out. I know there is a lot of them. Oh, this might be, depending how many issues actually end up coming this year. Yeah, if they take the Image break and there's only 2 more issues that finish up the year, I might not feel as strongly. But if this is a solid continual comic book that comes out near monthly, Local Man might be my favorite comic book that's coming out this year. And I don't, although I have in the past said this, I don't normally say this about superhero comic books that aren't from Marvel and DC. I don't usually pick Marvel and DC comics, although I did Beta Ray Bill by Daniel Warren Johnson. I have in the past, like Black Hammer by Jeff Lemire and Dean Ormston. But Tim Seeley, who I do not normally like at all, and Tony Fleece, who has only done Stray Dogs, which I love, are doing Local Man. And it is such a good book. It's about a guy that was in one of those superhero groups from the days when we loved superheroes. This guy in the back here has freaking guns and he's shooting like crazy. But our main character isn't allowed to superhero anymore after being kicked out of the group. He can't even use his own name. He's not allowed to use any superheroing ability, and he's not allowed to go out superheroing without, because he's not allowed to. It's just not allowed. It's not legal. He's legally restricted to not be a superhero. And he goes back home and everybody hates him. Everybody hates him. And this is even the beautiful thing about this book is, so you got that depressing, I used to be a superhero, and we're slowly getting doled out little bits and pieces of information while we're meeting the characters in the story from all that time ago. But then you flip the book over upside down like we used to do in the 90s. And then you have a tale from his past. And it's drawn like one of those freaking superhero comics in the past, with all the striations and bullets and sound effects. This is a brilliant comic. I love Local Man, and you should be picking this one up. Did I do good for Tim Seeley? Will he be on my show if I should we let him know about this? Should I make a little video? Oh my goodness. Back in the day, Blake Northcott was hanging out with Sean Gordon Murphy, I think, writing one of those White Knight. Yeah, one of those White Knight miniseries. And people were hating on Sean Gordon Murphy for, I think, putting out an Indiegogo book. And also because people hate when celebrity within comic books or companies that are, big within comics or perceived bigger than others in comics goes the crowdfunding route. They're evil, because that's where little people are supposed to go. And if not them, people that have been kicked out of comics. Blake Northcott seemed like a pretty cool person. She wrote some books, and this is a comic that's based off that. And if you like rebelling against all those people from all sorts of angles, I think you can really feel good about buying this comic book. Oh, except Whatnot's putting it out. I got it anyway in spite of that. So in the very least, tell me you don't want to see any more Whatnot comics by buying this and telling me you don't want to see any more Whatnot comics. Otherwise, don't buy it, and I won't be getting any more. Whatnot is the new DCBS. Pathfinder Wake the Dead. Oh my gosh. This makes me want to play a video, and you know how that is later on in the show. But there is, I don't think I'll do it. Pathfinder, what I was going to do, I was going to make fun of Hasbro. Hasbro's been having a lot of problems. They make shitty magic cards that bend. They exploit their customers of Magic the Gathering. They exploit their customers of Dungeons and Dragons, which made $1 billion last year. And now, because their digital strategy didn't go quite the way they wanted to because of public outrage, they're now increasing by 20% the books that they're going to be putting out. So $50 books are going to be like, six. Don't get me on math, anybody. Maybe I should say their $40 to $50 books are going to be $60 to $70 books. And from what I've been hearing lately, their books crap. They fall apart. And I'm lucky I got the first version of the 5th edition. Probably won't be getting the new one. Anyway, Pathfinder is one of those companies that does D&D type stuff and actually cares about the consumer. So you might want to check out this comic book. Image puts out Starstorm, the savage strength of Starstorm by Drew Craig. I thought it looked really good, but there was this page, and I don't have the book right here. As I was going through the book, it was like, this is split up like it should have been, a double page spread. Maybe if you pick this up and look at it, maybe you can tell me if I'm crazy or not. It looked good. I haven't read it, but that page really was offsetting. Next up we have, I only got the cover that has Adam Hughes doing it, of Dave Stevens, The Rocketeer. It's a one-shot. I didn't get that many, and I only assume old people are going to care about this. But it's an Adam Hughes cover, everybody. And, I ordered accordingly. I love The Rocketeer, though. Let me tell you, when I was a kid, the Independents were Pacific. Let's see if I got any right here. The Independents were Comico and Fantagraphics, and here, Spectrum Comics, and First, and what is Badger? I can't remember. Badger was what is that? What is that? Capital Comics. Show me the awesome Mike Baron Diamond comic that came out. You're not going to. I had Continuity. We had, again, I think this was Drawn and Quarterly, going back to Dan Clowes. How many times have we mentioned Dan Clowes today? In something. Rocketeer by Dave Stevens, the drunk that he was. One of the greatest artists ever in comic books. And gone too soon and didn't do enough stuff. That's just the way it is. And last but not least, Spider-Man 2099 Dark Genesis. I think there's one more issue to go. It might be one of those Omega ones. I read the first one and I liked it. All right. But with all the new characters that are in this book, and Steve Orlando just doesn't ever really do it for me. I'm not trying to not sell it to y'all, but there was some pretty cool art in this series, and it's nearing its end. So with that, that's New Comic Book Day. I'm going to go to chat. We're going to crack a slab in a second, and who knows? Can I stick it out any longer? It's so funny because, like, in the early days, we struggled to get to like an hour and a half unless we had a guest. Recently we picked up some steam on our Pink Cat video, and I was getting slammed by all of 2 people for being a shitty interviewer and not knowing my stuff. I'm not going to defend myself too much, but I am going to say I only did 3 days worth of work, and really that was only 30 minutes worth of work. I own a store, and I'm pretty much the only employee, or at least at that time, I was the only employee, like I am now. And this show is for you all, and for anybody else that has a problem with it, that's cool. I appreciate you watching. Nonetheless, we weren't there to like cause problems with Pink Cat. We were just there to have conversation with Pink Cat. I am not very comfortable talking about race publicly like a YouTube show, because I am not one of those people that necessarily is like blah 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 privilege, but I also understand there's divisions within all sorts of communities, and that not everybody is going to appreciate every aspect of what I have to say, and I'm not going to get into it because I want to know the people I'm talking to when I'm talking about that stuff. And I'm not going to bring something out of them and then just nod or not say something or then not get into a fight with somebody about stuff. So if somebody had a problem with something specifically that was going on, that's not what we were about. And not only that, a lot of people talk about plagiarism and when we're talking about the pink cat and the NFTs and all that stuff. And one of the main people in the comments that got lauded by one of the comments recently was Ramon Villalobos. And dude didn't even finish drawing all of his freaking comic books. He needed other people's help so that he got his shit done. And although that might not be stealing, it ain't doing the fucking work either. So there you go on that. You know, it's like, what is work? What is not work? What are you doing? What are you not doing? What do you do when you only do this and then some inker comes in and finishes it and you get penciling or layouts? It's like, what, did you draw a box and let them finish it out? You know, there's a lot of different ways to finish a comic book. And, you know, you don't have to attack me because you got a problem with somebody else doing the way they do it. I've seen a lot of fucking shit in comic books from Joelle Jones got slammed for stealing stuff. I didn't see anybody saying stuff about that. Hardly. She's not working that much anymore, if at all. She'll come back, I'm sure. If she cares about comic books anymore, she'll just get the pink cat route. I'm sure she'll make a pin. I mean, where's Babs Tarr, you know, doing comic books? You know, you can really tell the real comic book professionals. You know, as much as I bag on a guy like Mark Bagley, that dude at least draws his own freaking books. You know, I would be pleased as punch as an independent person if Mark Bagley was doing my book. I'd think he was the greatest person, and I'd be like, I love you. I want you to do everything with me. That's why Brian Michael Bendis stuck with him. Brian Michael Bendis drew his own stuff, and he freaking took real pictures of crime scenes so that he could finish his freaking book. And nobody cried about that for stealing. You know, that was it. He took newsprint and put it in his comic book. Why is that not a problem? Why is that good? Why is a collage good? You know what I mean? Why? Well, it's not good? Or why can't I not paint over something else? Why is that not okay? But a collage is. It's like there's a lot of different ways. Why is it taking a picture art when it's the person that was doing the picture that was doing the art, right? I mean, whatever. I don't care. I've seen some AI recently. A lot of people slamming on it. They take an existing picture. We'll say like Bucky O'Hare. And then they'll do the AI and it will extrapolate all the other shit around it. So they did a Mona Lisa and everybody's all, oh, that sucks. And it sucked. But the thing is that, wow, that happened. And I know it's scary. Everything like that's scary. Brian Hibbs was scared about freaking DC moving on. Other people are scared that Tuesdays are going to be New Comic Book Day. You know, Flint, Michigan lost their Ford company and Ford's doing just fine. Sorry, Flint, your water sucks. I watched Michael Moore's movie and everybody says he's so horrible. The majority of Americans. Stream consciousness. Crack slab. Let's do a crack a slab. What do y'all think? Oh, I should also tell you about my finger, but yeah.
Good.
All right, everybody. Comic store, former comic store employee, comic Emil from Comic Relief. I knew him because he used to work there and is friends with everybody. Brought this comic book by. It's Astonishing number 12. And he said, I heard you crack slabs. Would you like one for the show? And I said, yeah. And he brought this by. I said, what if I put it up and somebody wanted to ask, you pay for it? I forgot what he said. It would be like, just a few $100s. The deal with this Astonishing number 12 is that it's green label. And it's still a 6.0, but it's missing an entire page. The entire page, it says right here, is no story involved. This is awesome because it has Gene Colan and Bill Everett art. And let me tell you, I already looked online at what the Gene Colan art looked like. And wow, it didn't look like I was like, wow, this is Gene Colan. It was very exciting to see his early work. And I'm going to be very excited to open this slab for you guys right now. This is early Marvel before Spider-Man and all that stuff. Emil is a very good font of information when it comes to comics. And it's the kind of information that's not in the guide. And he's the kind of guy that knows, if only, this isn't like necessarily seems like that big a deal, because most people have a, one thing that they're really good at. So this might not impress everybody when they think about it that way, but he knows when a comic book is, what year it is, just because of the grade. Obviously, if you know things like the comics code and when it came into effect, that would help. But he just knows, his shit when it comes to this old stuff, and that is becoming less and less available to people. And also his knowledge of undergrounds and independence, and you got to really keep up on it to be like current, but all of that stuff is very good. Last week I was talking about what do you do when you're like a little bummed about your comic book buying, and you start maybe reaching out and buying things that you never did, or you're like, well, I never got into those TV properties, so maybe I'll start buying those. Or, oh, I heard John Byrne did something before he worked at Marvel, and I'm going to get all of his books, So like you specify and get specific, you get specific on the things that you want to get. I want to start getting undergrounds. I want to start getting porn, whatever it may be. And a lot of times what people do is they go back in time. Some people will buy entire comics from like a month of their birth, which I've done. Some will collect things pre-Marvel, Silver Age only, pre-Silver Age, Timely Atlas, monster books, romance books, things like that. And Emil's buying the really cool old ass stuff that was pre-code. And I'm going to be cutting this out for him. But he only keeps things that are slabbed when he enjoys the cover. And I don't know, I'm gonna use words that he didn't say. Kind of sounded like it was rudimentary for him. But personally, and of course I'm not as fluent on this type of stuff, I really enjoyed this cover. The fear is actually captured in the faces. It's a sexy woman. You got these other stories that are going on right here. And I think it's a pretty cool cover. And I'm jealous. And on the back, we have an ad here. We give you cash for premiums, boys, girls, ladies, men. And I don't know what any of this stuff is, but you got to love it. That's why you get these old comics, as far as I'm concerned. And sometimes stories that aren't reprinted are in them. I'm not leaving you just yet, but I'm going to play this video. All right, it's almost the end of the show, everybody. This is what I want to let everybody know. Thank you so much for being patrons of ours. We're going to have a new list starting up next week, and I'm feeling so much better already. Jill, let me know how that poll's going. I'm just joking. I'm going to look at it right now. When I pass the test is the winner. So let's hope I'm going to end that poll. So don't come in tomorrow if I don't pass the test. Okay, very good. What I'll do is I'll drive in, leave a note, and say come back tomorrow, hopefully. Thank you to all our patrons. You're making it available for me to not come in tomorrow. Give freely, because I won't be making any money, I think. Oh shit. Damn. Yul said, oh yeah, okay. Wait a second. Let me go up higher. Sorry. All right. My D&D team is thinking about switching to Pathfinder. It works off, I thought, well, they might have done a 5e by now. I really want to play D&D again, but I really don't have time for it. So why did I say that? I really, with all the conversation about Hasbro and D&D sucking, personally, I like older editions. I would just love to really finally run a really good campaign, older edition style. But everybody hates Stacko. I really enjoyed the Anna Cindy Storm book from last week, but the art was, well, it wasn't great. Dude, Elithidor, it sucked. Let's be real. There was a few panels that I thought were really good. Some were passable, and then some were just god-awful. I thought Anna Cindy wrote a really good conversation between Kitty Pryde and Storm. I think, and I'm not like Emil knows this shit. I don't know all that stuff. I don't know all the Silver Age. I know some of the Silver Age and some of the Bronze Age, and it's because I also dabbled in comic books. I also dabbled in knowing about music. I dabble in many things. I'm a master of nothing. I can hold a conversation. But I think there was a few things that didn't actually happen during that time. And I don't exactly remember what they were. And I know it's not nitpicky enough. You would think Anna Cindy, of course, it's been a long time, might, as editor, have remembered some of those. But I just felt like some of the timing was off. The conversations were all very cool. I really enjoyed Kitty saying nobody says Peter's name right, because we all just should call him Peter, not Piotr or whatever that would be. But it's the same reason why I'm okay with Kitty Pryde and Colossus being an item. Doc Post-a-Lot's here to say cheers, chat. Elithidor again. Yul, did you see Marvel released a number of books for Fall of X? Well, I've known the different titles. If there's anything after that, no. X-Men is so unwieldy. The only book I usually read is X-Men. And it's fine because it almost never needs to be, anything else that needs to be read. So I'm okay with that. I remember that Pink Cat stream. You had a ton of new viewers who all hated your guts, Yul. Exactly. How's your father? Yeah. I mean, we were in, COVID, and it really was one of my first interviews. I was lacking for sure. But at the same time, there was things that I was never going to broach. And I think overall we had a conversation. I mean, that's all it was supposed to be. Jill's like, said like, well, that's what happens when you court controversy. And I'm like, well, there was controversy involved with her, but I just wanted to have a conversation, But you know what you're doing. I'm not chasing clout like some people had suggested at the time, but I can play stupid and say I wasn't, and because I wasn't, but I mean, you want to know the real reason why I had her on is because Talking Soul had become a regular customer again and started pounding my brain with all this fucking NFT crypto shit. And seeing such an aversion to it made me want to have a conversation with someone who was in the middle of it, actually. And that was just it. And, whatever. I mean, I felt like, like Alex Jones trying to defend Kanye at a couple of moments where I was like trying to suggest something. But, whatever. She can believe her shit. She can not believe her shit. I can believe mine. You can believe yours. That's what America's all about. Well, Eugene's not around. That's the thing. Now maybe I should open the poll. Now, what do you think? I'm going to pass that test tomorrow. Promise. I tell you, it's just weed. I love watching Eugene catch shoplifters and holding them in the dirty bathtub downstairs. It is not a dirty bathtub downstairs. Our records are down there, and I'm talking about paperwork. That's the only thing. They're all in boxes, and it's not dirty. There might be some dust on top, but we make sure to get rid of all the cobwebs sometimes. Let's see. 38% of the people are prudes. It was the hottest poll ever, other than the Mary Jane one. If you add up the other three together, it beats the test. That's true, Jill. I totally agree. 66 books in full. Okay. Without even looking, my recommendation is to X-Men fans that aren't getting everything, and you better let me know up front. And you better be on time picking them up. Get Fall of X, Omega, and Alpha, or Alpha and Omega. Get any books you normally buy. And if they do a mini-series based on a character that you like, get that. Otherwise, spin. That's my recommendation to anybody out there. You could be like, oh, I don't really like the X books except for X-Men. Then just get the X-Men book. If they put a number through it, don't ignore it. If you're like, I only get Wolverine and X-Force because Wolverine's an X-Force, then only get those and Alpha and Omega. If they do a Fall of X 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, get those also. Talking Soul. Pink Count found her audience, so no harm, no foul. Amen. Well, I mean, she was lifting Jamie Hewlett. The thing is, like, she was taking other people's artwork and using it, and she was like reskinning it. And Fortnite has to pay people in order to do stuff like that, right? So, when you make up it wasn't the Harlem Shuffle or something. Somebody was like, you can't use that in Fortnite. If I remember, maybe I got the wrong dance, but even still, the Lindy Hop. You can't do the Lindy Hop in Fortnite until it's paid for. But whatever. So, there's definitely problems with Pink Cat's art. I mean, but she's doing like, the one picture one-offs. I mean, they're almost exactly like Love Is comic strips. Love Is comic strips are ripping themselves off all the time. And then when Garfield isn't being produced by Jim Davis anymore, what about the person that did Garfield minus Garfield? All the comic strips of Garfield without Garfield in them. So John's just talking to himself. That's ripping people off, right? So I mean, there's so many. How about all of Terry Brooks' freaking fantasy novels ripping off Lord of the Rings? How about anytime you do Lord of the Rings and you don't adhere to the thing that happened in Lord of the Rings, or just doing something that should be, it's just like the hero's quest, the young man that's growing into the thing, the finding the sword. It's all been freaking done. You know, Greg Land taking one arm here from something and one arm here from something and a head from a porno from something and making a drawing. Well, that's something I didn't do. How many times have I heard about an artist, someone saying, I could do that? You didn't do it, you know? But the thing about Pink Cat is someone did do it. And I didn't bring any of that up. And I mean, that's true. But, you know, I mean, I've had a long time to ruminate. And, you know, I'm pretty fucked up right now. I would have passed the test tomorrow as Yule proceeds to contact me and ask Fintinium, can I borrow your nasal cavity? Who doesn't make a pink Mickey Mouse or SpongeBob or Black Simpsons? Did I say that right? Yeah, sure. Boom. There you go. Some people are lauded. Some people are not. Some people are villainized. Some people are not. Most people are ignored. And Pink Cat was not. Blame me. 1,000. Hey, if you want to help me out, go back to that video. I think it was number 122. I looked it up, but I can't remember anymore. I think it was 122. Go and leave a comment. Respond to those people. The channel Ponder something. I can't remember. It's in the comments. They have 101,000 viewers, subscribers to their channel. If ever there was punching down, it's time to attack everybody. And just do it by my video. You know, just make a comment. I hear that's important for some reason. Thank you, everybody, for being patrons of ours, man. You're awesome people. Everybody here has been awesome. I don't know. I guess that's it. Did I do everything? Let me just make sure. One last time. Tonight's show. Talked about Diamond. Talked about Eric Stevenson. One last thing. All right. Save the best for last. Anybody still here? You're going to be happy. Marvel announced that they're going to be putting out the Micronauts Omnibus just a week before they announced the ROM Omnibus. And I've always had a passing fancy in ROM. It's expensive to buy every issue of it. And if you care about condition, it's very expensive to buy every issue of it. But Marvel in January is going to be putting out a ROMnibus. At least 36 issues of ROM in one big fat graphic novel omnibus. And if you've never seen an omnibus before, this is the small end of an omnibus right here. And let me just hold a comic book up next to it. There you go. So you can imagine there's, in this one, I think there's 24 plus a giant-sized Astonishing X-Men in this. So 25 comics, at least $4 each. Maybe they were the $3 days. I can't remember anymore. There's going to be a Micronauts omnibus also. And wow, it's so fortunate. How it is all accidental. I never planned any of this out. One of the comics I pulled out to show you was Bucky O'Hare. And Bucky O'Hare is written, I think, by Larry Hama and drawn by Michael Golden. And then one of the most distinguishing, and I usually don't like anthropomorphic stuff. And one of the most distinguishing features of a Michael Golden character are the eyes. And I just love it. And he does such a great job with his panel artwork. And anybody that's seen any of my really silly videos that I did on my Yule Carter channel knows that I love a panel that invades another panel or just slants it and stuff like that. And Michael Golden, who's never done a ton of artwork, has been a favorite of mine for a long time. And if you're on Twitter and you follow comic book people, he's one of those, he'll never be a Mount Rushmore guy. But when you're not talking about Mount Rushmore guys, this is one of them. It's not a Luke Ross when someone says Keith Pollard is a legend. You know what I mean? Michael Golden is way higher than that. Anyway, he did Micronauts. And I had at the time, I thought I had a really good idea, and that was to buy Micronauts very cheap, VF condition, because you don't want the books all fucked up or anything like that. And then my buddy Jim, who I worked with, same birthday, he was the brains behind putting the effort together. I just got my stuff together. I found the place in Texas that at the time would do the binding cheapest for us. And Jim put together the issues that I got for him, and we put a few collections of mine together. He did way more. He did like all his Airboys. He did all his Scouts. Anything that was like Pacific Comics and First and Kamiko or whatever it may be. Anything that he liked like that. If Dan Day did something, then he put it in a collection. But this is my Mantlo, Golden, and Ditko Micronauts Volume 1. I never care. Well, I thought I might make another one with just the bookend. But Michael Golden does the first 12 issues. And Jim even made a really cool title page for the thing. And it comes with the annual #1, which is by Steve Ditko. But these are all the original comics. You can see the back page and the back ads. Nothing. All they did was like they stripped the spine. How many times have I seen this banana phone ad or walkie-talkie ad? But yeah, it's all of the stuff that I never thought was going to get collected, because Marvel owned some of the characters that they created for this, like Bug, and Hasbro owned the toys. And since they weren't together, and you had to be a part of, you had to. So the only question is, now that they've done ROM by Hasbro and Micronauts by Hasbro, will they be making an omnibus version of Transformers and G.I. Joe soon? Just to prove I do like Michael Golden and the Micronauts. I got the ID. I only get the Spider-Man ones. And there's a few that I wish I would have got, but I didn't, because these are big. But I got the Spider-Man ones, and I got the Micronaut one. And it's all Michael Golden inside. And his panel work is just great. I highly recommend anybody that likes sci-fi, Star Wars, Marvel from the 70s, comic books that aren't made like this anymore. The great thing about Michael Golden, as I had always had told to me, was that, I forgot I'm sitting on that plastic, was that he was a commercial artist that loved comic books. And he would go and make his commercial art, and then he would make enough money to be able to come and slum it in comics. I also read an interview where he said the most creativity that he actually had was working in the advertising field, because there was always like a different thing that you had to work with. That's understandable. If you're always working on the Micronauts for 12 straight issues, it's just the Micronauts. There could be a really crazy story, but you're still always drawing the Micronauts. Some of the best illustrators that worked in comics were also ad men, like Neil Adams, Steranko, Michael Golden. And then some of the really great artists like Steve Scroach were storyboarders for movies. So don't talk shit about Clobbering Time in the future. One last time, thank you to the patrons out there. You've made it happen ever since, actually before the pandemic, and obviously it's still going on. Let's see here. One last time. Fantinium says Pink Cat's reasonings just sounded like mental gymnastics being vocalized. A lot of things these days sound like mental gymnastics being vocalized. A lot of things like that are given a lot of credence, and a lot of things like that probably shouldn't. Okay, excellent. Battle Buddy, doesn't the comic artist Greg Land copy porn? Yeah, exactly. He does that. He also takes just like one element of a piece, and like he's taken art from an alien or predator like statue, like on the cover of the box, and he just took like one piece of it and applied it to something that he was drawing. The thing is, though, is that Greg Land has actually illustrated before, like pen to paper, and it has looked good. So I give him a lot more leeway than I would maybe someone that only has ever done something like that. And it looks good usually. Is there an omnibus for the Kool-Aid Man comics? If only. Actually, if only DC gets their ass in gear and gets that Atari Force going, because that will be... Like, I collected all the comics so that they could eventually get bound like this, but I never did it. And then that company went out. And I just never did it, but I still have the books. But an omnibus of that would be pretty sweet. Now, let's see here. Battle Buddy again. Mike Golden's The Nam is the true favorite of mine. Wish there was an omnibus for that. Yeah, the thing is that war comics just don't really sell. And I can't, if every store buys a Romnibus, if every store buys a Micronauts, it will be a hit. But the fact of the matter is not every store is going to get one. Like any store that was not, like if you're not a guy my age and you own a store, and less new stores are from guys my age, then you don't even have like an idea that, like, if you don't have an older clientele, you don't even have an idea that ROM was something. You got to follow Aaron Meyer on Twitter to care about that kind of stuff. And although some people do, they might not pay attention, or they're like, oh, this is old shit. You know what I mean? That's just, you can only expect so many people to want to really pick these up. And then the nom is even less. Now, let's finish up with Battle Buddy one more time, because Elithidor said goodnight. Doctor Strange number 55 was Michael Golden's best work. Amazing. Yeah, his Doctor Strange is great. I agree. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to be taking my test in the morning. Stay tuned. I'll be letting everybody know on Instagram/Twitter what's going on. And I will be in regardless. That's just the fact. You can take everything at your own pace. I'll have signs outside, and I'll have a go-between if that person chooses to come in and deal with the books. So you don't have to worry about me touching stuff. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Lucy and Ramona cruising through the jungles of L.A. Hoping to promote a dream somewhere along the way. They're rolling through the streets, looking for a disco, passing up the treats from a kid named Cisco, trying to make connections with their blemish food complexions. And just as fate would have it, ended up with Sunset Sam. Sam was selling watches from a suitcase on a TV tray. Lucy and Ramona were trying to figure out if he was gay. The three of them were standing, staring at each other, when the light behind their eyes blew each other's cover. The ancient code was branded, and each of them was handed a ticket to their kingdom, 'cause they saw their brother sunset sun. Sunset Sam. Lucy was from Compton, and she met Ramona at the zoo. Ramona was from Brooklyn. She left when she was 22. Sam was a native of the Arizona desert, but he split when he was slated for some governmental make-work. Their differences subsided when the common bond was sighted. They were all from the same place that made the famous Sunset Sam. Yes, sir.